During the lockdown phase, you probably gave you an opportunity to test things out, and so what was that kind of decision making process for you? What were you thinking?
So yeah, the main thing was I'd sort of been a bit wary of my sort of knowledge around clipping and footage and stuff like that, and I didn't think it would be as easy as it was. So the lockdown gave me a bit of time to have a play around with it, and the free trial, which you guys are so kindly doing. And once I'd sat down and just played around with it, I found out how easy it was, and actually how I wish I'd kicked on with it early.
Or one of the tweets anyway, I think you'd sort of said thanks to us for helping to support it. So I was like, oh, cool. How did we help to support it? And yeah.
But basically, when lockdown happened, we are a one-term sort of rugby setup. So we did rugby and 15 aside until Christmas, and then we were going to do some sevens, and then the sevens got cut really short. So yeah. I was thinking, right, how can I keep the rugby side of things going? And then we set up a sports Twitter, which we hadn't had for a while. So I thought, right, I was starting to play around with the footage on Coach Logic, and I thought, right, now I've got a handle on this. How can I sort of, get the pupils, the boys? My view is some of them are just still playing. So what we've got two brothers, George and Pat, who were both first team captains, and I think they left probably 3 years ago. So they were a year apart, and they've always wanted to stay involved and support schoolboy rugby. So George's story, he went on and he did a year with the Sevens, England Sevens Academy. So he had a 12-month contract. He ended up playing out in the Hong Kong Sevens. And so that's a pretty cool story. And then Pat, his brother, is a really good lad. He was captain, and he's gone on to Nottingham University, played at university, and now he's got sort of I think he's vice chairman for his final year or something. So that's what we did. That's the first one we did. So they just clipped some of their schoolboy footage that I'd been through, and basically they just talked around their clips to current pupils. I just went through, again, it was a bit of sort of just playing around. I used all the help topics, that you guys have got out there on your website. So create clip, and then I just set up 2 tags, so attack and defense, really. And this was great. So again, it was just great to have some time to play around. So I clicked some attack ones. Then as you can see on the bottom, they come up as different tags.
Yeah. So
they came up there. And then what I found really helpful was when I went into the tags, is then how if you go into edit and then editing the clip, the length of the tags, that was really helpful. Like I said, I just went through this footage, put some tags on there. And then for the first one, I gave George and Pat access to these so they could have a look through and, and then sort of comment on their footage and on the clips, really, because I wanted it to come from them.
So they're on your platform. So basically you invited them to your team platform? Yeah,
so I added them. And then, so for the first one, I also gave them access so they could add any clips in particular they wanted to talk around. So that's what we did. And then also I managed to create playlists as well.
Smashed it.
There we go. So I managed to then create a playlist because I wanted to work out what the best way was to then present them while I was sharing, to give them access. And the best thing was we had ranges from year 7s all the way up to year 12 logging on to watch. And that was just, to me, that's what I wanted to achieve, is to try and bring everyone together from all the ages. And we had a year 7 lad, Toby Wells, asking questions, which I thought was awesome. So he was the bravest, to ask the first question via the chat like that. And I just thought that was great because, like I said, the whole point was to engage the rugby sort of community. So we had year 7s up to year 12s, and then we had parents watching as well. The second webinar, we went about it a little bit of a different way, in that what I did was I gave Pat and George access to the footage to edit it. I uploaded the footage for them because I had it. Then as you can see here, what I did is I gave Pat and George license to clip it themselves, which again was a great learning tool for me, because moving forwards, I want to use the players to do the clipping themselves. And then Patrick went through, and as you can see, he clipped what he wanted to talk about. So as you can see, he then put a number of clips down here. Yeah. And then what really impressed me was, say, if I go to this one here, is as you can see, he's added notes at the top as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it was awesome because, again, he said, had a bit of time sort of playing around with it. And this is all come from the play, from Pat himself to talk about and what he noticed. Yeah. And what was awesome, he said here, compared to clip 1. So again, it just shows he's a real intelligent lad. So he went clip 1, and he did here. It was the same. So it was the same setup. So we have setups, but with loads of different options. And he said here, actually, you know, he picked how we chose a different option, and then to the one later on, which one was it?
It's on the, got the dot on it. I think
it's that one there, yeah. And if you put that, he's put compared to clip 1, decision making by 12 and opponents in the back line, 10 running the loop. So he picked up there. We had the same setup, but we did a different option. And then he spoke about to the boys about the importance of decision making and, you know, not having sort of pre-planned structures. So I say, could you clarify? But that, you know, sort of unintended consequence has been that we've had year 7s, year 8s and year 9s on the webinar, then hearing the terminology that we're using. So if we want to use a common language, you know, throughout the sort of school teams, you know, I don't want everything uniform, but if we can have a little bit of common language, then they can start seeing it in action as well. Imagine that if you've got your first 15, you know, 9, he could run a little 9s clinic. So he could invite all the 9s. We can put, you know, some footage from, you know, from schoolboy footage, premiership footage, and then he can sort of, we have, you know, a little scrum half sort of secret society almost, and he can say, oh, Toby, you know, you're the under 12 scrum half. I loved, you know, what I saw the other day, or he can pick something. So it just starts connecting people together. And the biggest thing that it's been for me is this is how the players at the moment connect and use and gather information, which is through visual stuff. You know, it's through videos, you know, you see on Instagram, on TikTok, and I needed to upskill myself and realize I now need to present that information in a way that's relevant for them.
Because it's their world.
Yeah. And almost one of the biggest things I've been thinking about this in the past is the boys have so much on with academic commitments, extracurricular commitments, stuff at home, playing club stuff. I just thought I want rugby to really be a release. And I thought what I don't want to do is to make it more sort of work for them. And I thought that if I go down this route of play and them doing it themselves, it could be more work. But actually, it's the complete opposite, because it's just allowing them to take ownership of it. They'll pick things. I will learn myself because they will pick different things up from a game. I'll look at it from my perspective, whereas actually I need to see what they're seeing in the games. And this is a much easier way for them to get to me, because I might say on the playing on the pitch, do you remember what happened on Saturday? Why did you make that decision? They might think, I don't know, I can't remember. Whereas now they can just do this and they can tell me what they're seeing or what they're feeling, and that should then influence my coaching.